with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. Fuck, the weekends are short at the moment. I remember not too long ago, I used to make jokes about not working and how every day is the weekend for me. So arrogant, so naive. I never thought I'd be back in this position. 6 days a week. I finished at fucking 5 yesterday. Well, I got home at 5. We finished at 4. And so by the time we get home, me and my wife went to dinner. The kids weren't home. That was nice. We got back 8:15. My wife was in bed because she went out the night before and was hungover. Then I'm up doing the podcast. I fall asleep. I have to wake up. My mate from work, who also only has 1 day off a week, he comes over, teaches my son some kickboxing, and now I'm here, and now I'll be at work in fucking 5 hours or 6 hours from now. It's crazy. Crazy. Like, I'm deep diving history at the moment. American history, I'm starting there just because I'm listening to Conceived in Liberty, but I'm also listening to some of that Daryl Cooper's stuff about the labor wars or movement, the labor movement in the US. And I'm listening to some of the conditions that the workers had back in the day. Not way back in the day. Like, let's talk like early 1900s. Let's talk the 19s. Anything before that, it gets pretty hectic. Like the slaves, and this is white, black, and Indian slaves used to work. These were their hours. From can't see to can't see. And no shit, no fucking shit, I'm working from can't see to can't see. I leave, I can't see. I get home, I can't see. That's during the winter. When daylight savings hits, then fucking I've got a little bit more day. But during winter, it's can't see to can't see. But even back then, they had Sunday off because you couldn't work on Sundays. You couldn't fucking work on the Lord's Day. That's punishable by death back then. So at least they got Sunday off, which I also get Sunday off. But I tell you what, doesn't feel like you've got a whole lot of life to live. I was speaking to one of the guys on site. He's one of the Ally Mac drivers. And he was telling me about how he worked at James Packer's apartment. James Packer is like an Australian billionaire. He's the son of Kerry Packer, who was the richest man in Australia forever. And James Packer's a big, fat, miserable cunt. Anyway, he was working in his apartment, which was a whole floor in a big tower. And he was telling me all the shit this fucking place has. Like, walk into the wardrobe, which is like the size of a fucking huge bedroom, and the lights turn on and the air conditioning turns on automatically and the tires come out. He's like, it's all automated. And he's like, this sort of money, man, he's like, you just don't know. Like, I'm here, I'm working. All I want to do is I want to walk my daughter to school. That's my dream, is if I could just walk my daughter to school every day, that would make me a happy man. And I'm like, that's fucking right. This cunt's deep. It almost brought a tear to my eye. And then like 3 days later, I was speaking to him again in the Ally Mac. And he was like, oh, see that guy over there? And it was the big boss of the site. He's like, yeah, he jumped in my car the other night. I gave him a lift to the train station because his car broke down. And you know me, I like to have a beer after work. So the floor was covered in beers. Like, you can't even see the floor. Like, it's just beer bottles everywhere. And he hopped in and he was a little bit shocked. And he's like, mate, you would do all right to probably throw these out, because if you get pulled over, you still get fined for the open beer card. And he's like, what are you doing drinking this much anyway at work? And the Ally Mac driver's like, I'm allowed to do what I want on my hours. I don't drink at work. I like to have a beer after work. I like to have it in the car. I have a couple on the drive home, It's a man's God-given right to have a beer, isn't it? And I'm like, fucking oath it is, mate. It is a God-given right to have a fucking beer. They love saying that on site. It's a man's God-given right to have a beer. Even the superintendent says it on the weekend. He's like, fucking, it's your God-given right to have a beer, but just on Monday, make sure you come in clean, boys. And I suppose it is technically your God-given right to have a beer, as it falls under freedom if you believe you're born a free man, which is also debatable. But I'm not too sure if it's in the scriptures. I'm not too sure they penned it in the way these lads talk about it. But anyway, I'm back at work in a few hours. It's 1 month now until Vietnam. So fucking Jesus Christ, I'm looking forward to that. And then during December, it's fucking India. I'm going back to India. I'm probably going to go for like 4, 5, 6 weeks. If work isn't happy with it, I'm just quitting. Because they give you like 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks mandatory off. And I'm going to take an extra 3 on top of that, probably 4. So I've got that to look forward to. So I've got a month until Vietnam, and then it's probably like 2 months until I go to India again. So I'm sorted. And then on top of that, I'm going to go to the Perth Fringe Festival, which will probably be early February. And then March, we're meant to be out of this place. So I need to earn some money somewhere, because you can't just leave the country with no money. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what's going on. Anyway, fucking that'll do it for tonight, and I'll see ya the fuck later.